locked them down, it will be too late.
Alien Earth marks the first attempt to bring the aliens to Earth, a pure hunting ground for these creatures. However, the idea has definitely surfaced a few times before, and each time it has likely led to a different method of solving the infestation when a single xenomorph is set free. Fans are eager to see if Alien Earth will manage to give us a chance to explore this arc once it has established what is truly in the minds of the corporations that hold control. But before that happens, you can simply visit another storyline that managed to touch upon this idea through an arc that was presented in the pages of the Aliens comic books. Let's take a look at how Dark Horse Comics dealt with a xenomorph infestation on Earth. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Invasive species.
Aliens coming to Earth. While 20th Century Fox was trying to find a director to produce their next attempt at bringing the Xenomorphs to the screen, Dark Horse Comics had its own plans for continuing the arc from the films. They decided early on that they wouldn't continue with publishing unlimited titles and instead opt for limited series runs, which will allow writers and creators to have more flexibility with the characters. The first 3 of these runs were actually continuations of the first 2 Alien films that had just been released and were published as follow-ups to the arc of Lieutenant Ripley. Now, Alien Earth does a really good job of showing Earth in a franchise where we have mostly been visiting planets like LV-426 and the like. The idea that the world is largely in the hands of these giant conglomerates which continue to seek out means of making weapons after having built an empire around it, is truly remarkable and elaborate. There are limits to where it can go after this, and we can only imagine how much more it can grow. However, the idea of bringing the Xenomorphs to Earth has been avoided for quite some time now. One can imagine that it would be quite a compelling storyline to execute, given the absolute chaos that will spread, and how it will ultimately become a scenario where the Xenomorphs can thrive. When Alien Earth was first announced, the first thought that most of us had was that there was a clear chance we would see vast devastation, with humans being butchered from left to right, and the population of the Xenomorphs experiencing exciting growth within hours of the infestation. However, it appears that such an idea and its implementation have been explored before, with our beloved Ripley leading the charge in stopping the infestation. In 1990, the Alien Earth War arc, intended as a follow-up to the Alien franchise, attempted to explore the concept through numerous time jumps. Written by Mark Verheiden with illustrations from Sam Keith, we got to witness an arc that provided a solid opportunity to visit the arc of how humans would react to an infestation of the Xenomorphs. Aliens, Earth War, the case of Xenomorphs on Earth. The story begins with Newt, as we see her alone in her hiding place while the humans are being butchered in her colony, with the Xenomorphs taking control until Ripley comes and rescues her. Everything was okay as Ripley took Newt with her and decided to be her companion, 2 people who had gone through the worst times in their survival against the Xenomorphs. But the peace wasn't there for long, because before Ripley could go back home in peace with Newt, she was woken up from her stasis by Captain Hankerson. The never-ending battle against the Xenomorphs and the plans to acquire a sample had resulted in another mission, and this time around, Ripley wasn't even given an option. This time around, they wanted to head back to LV-426 and explore the readings and recordings that Nostromo had made during its rendezvous with the planet. Ripley wasn't aware of any information that had been acquired during this journey, but it was Captain Henderson who showed her that there was plenty to see about what happened to the crew of the ship. According to him, they needed to find out more about the space jockeys who were seen on the ship, as it would likely provide a little more insight into the Xenomorph situation. Once again, a crew of hardcore troops travels with Ripley to LV-426, almost like a déjà vu for Ripley, since she knew that all of this macho bravado would disappear once they came across the creature that had doomed her crew. As usual, one of the macho soldiers falls into a trap and meets their death, triggering the onslaught of Xenomorph slaughter. However, the soldier inadvertently activates something that causes Ripley to receive a vision or some information that likely was not meant for her. It's here that Ripley receives the vision of all the Xenomorphs coming together under the authority of the Queen. Ripley becomes a pivotal part of the mission, and since she isn't expendable anymore, Hankerson asks for her back on the ship. Ripley delivers the vision she had and shares it with Hankerson, and Hankerson confesses that the crew they had sent in was supposed to be expendable this time around. So they decide to head back to Earth, where a whole new crew is being prepared to gather samples, a loop that doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. The survivors of the crew, after having faced the Xenomorphs, team up against Hankerson and kill him, and decide to head back to Earth. Ripley almost believes for a second that things are going to change, but the struggle to obtain a specimen and weaponize it will continue, and one fine day, they will bring this creature to their home, Earth. Xenomorphs on Earth, new hunting ground. Eventually, one such mission did come true, wherein Xenomorphs were brought to Earth, and all hell broke loose as humans became the primary targets of these creatures, who hunted them for the sake of their own species. By the time Newt would wake up, she would find that the one person she had trusted after going through that traumatic experience had now left her. Over the years, Newt has grown up, lost her childish innocence, and is resentful of Ripley for abandoning her. She unites with both Hicks and Ripley, and even though Hicks and Newt are wary of Ripley for abandoning them, they team up with her for the plan that might just be the end of the Xenomorphs. Ripley has created a pod filled with the remains of the Xenomorphs they have killed and set it up on the inner walls. They have decided to use it to lure the Queen. Once the Queen is caught inside, they will bring her to Earth, where she can once again unite all the Xenomorphs, and these creatures could be killed all at once. It might just be the craziest plan ever, because anything could go wrong. And bringing the Queen to Earth could also mean the possibility of losing the planet forever to an infestation of these creatures. But the crew joins Ripley on the mission to grab hold of the Queen Xenomorph. The crazy plan gets crazier once you remember that the plan with the Queen has some really advanced Xenomorphs who can go against anything that the team plans to bring against them. From the power loader suits to any other advanced weapon, everything manages to go purely useless when facing the Xenomorphs. After the crew gets a taste of the Xenomorph, and they face quite a few fatalities, Ripley volunteers to go into facing the Queen all by herself, and she asks for her specially designed pod to be brought in to lure her. Back on Earth, the climatic conditions undergo a drastic change. It appears that they are somehow terraforming the planet to make it more habitable for their vast population. Yep, the countdown has just begun. As Ripley and her team head back after capturing the Queen in the pod, they start observing some strange behavioural patterns from this creature, and it somehow manages to bring back some memories from Ripley. Arriving on Earth, they go through with the plan and manage to drop the Queen in the right manner to get all the Xenomorphs together. The charges are set, and that's when they discover that Newt has gone on a mission of her own, trying to grab hold of a little girl, Amy, who was captured by the Xenomorphs and brought into the charge-laid base. Newt and Ripley managed to save the girl as Ripley continued her battle with the creatures, ensuring the plan went through. In the end, the entire base explodes, and the large population of the Xenomorphs is killed while the rest of the people rejoice at the success. But right when all seems calm, the Xenomorph breaks through the rubble, reminding us once more that they are basically parasites, and you can't just get rid of them like that. Canonizing the story, Billy and Wilkes. Alien 3 arrives soon, and everything changed in the flow of things, with characters being killed off without any proper explanation. I mean, it was explained, but then that just sounded like two of the actors simply didn't want to come back for this sequel. Anyway, the release of the film meant that a lot from the arc of the comic books had to be altered as well. So, the story was instantly retitled to Aliens: The Female War, and the lead character titles were changed to Billy and Wilkes from Newt and Hicks. Meanwhile, the Ellen Ripley that appears in the story is said to be a synthetic version of Ripley because she was also killed off by the end of Alien 3. Now, even though fans might not agree with it, Aliens: The Female War does stand as an essential part of the continuity that exists in the comics and novels, with all of these altered versions, Billy, Wilkes and synthetic Ellen Ripley becoming completely different characters in their own right. How to deal with Xenomorphs if they dominate Earth? Well, that is a question that we have to ask, because as we could see in both this arc and the Alien Earth series, Xenomorphs will definitely go into a complete killing frenzy once they arrive on Earth. Bringing the Queen to Earth and dealing with that might just be a bit too crazy, but then we didn't get a chance to see what happened to Earth in that arc. When it comes to the Earth depicted in the series, there is a chance that a similar plan might unfold, but without utilising the Queen, and instead targeting an entire town with a nuclear strike. Since Earth is now a property of 5 different corporations, which are clearly in a continuous state of competition with each other, it won't be surprising if we see the same happen in that scenario. Yutani could just nuke New Siam if the Xenomorphs get out of control, and it would be a contingency that the other corporations might completely agree with. Meanwhile, other corporations might attempt to compete for access to Prodigy's resources and technology to put themselves ahead in plans to weaponize the Xenomorphs, a loop that will continue indefinitely, never ending, as it is a continuous attempt to become increasingly powerful, regardless of the stakes. Marvelous verdict. It is interesting how Alien Earth has set up a base for the Ark, where it is not entirely the objective to see what will happen if the Xenomorphs arrive on Earth. Killing off the Xenomorph in the very beginning clearly indicated that the arc is not going to be that simple, and there's a lot more at play. What is becoming increasingly obvious here is that we are clearly at a time when humanity is divided and under the control of corporations, and that presents a convenient opportunity to sneak in some Xenomorphs. Once again, Prodigy has done the same thing and unleashed another Xenomorph, but this one is somehow becoming a pet to our protagonist, Wendy. A crazy twist. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.